Hey everyone, back again. Today I am sitting down with an absolutely phenomenal lady. She is impacted by sickle cell or has been impacted by sickle cell in various different ways. And this conversation is just going to be diving deeper into how sickle cell can affect those that don't live with it but are still impacted by it from family members, friends and loved ones. Nyesha, welcome.
Hi.
Thank you so much for agreeing to sit down with me today.
That's fine.
I really just wanted to have this conversation, most of all because I know that you don't have sickle cell yourself. Well, you're a carrier of the gene.
Yes.
But you have a son that has sickle cell.
Yes.
And also your partner had sickle cell as well.
Correct.
So I want to kind of go deeper into your experience of sickle cell as a whole, how you kind of learnt about it, then having a child with it, and you know, so on and so forth. So I think the best place to start would be you meeting your partner at the time. So before kind of getting into relationships and things like that, did you know that you had sickle cell traits? Was that something that you was aware of at all?
Growing up I knew I had sickle cell trait, but it's not something that really I looked into because I just knew it was a trait. It didn't really affect me or my siblings or my parents. I just knew.
So is there anyone in your family that actually has the full-blown sickle cell?
Yes, I've got 2 cousins that had full sickle cell.
Okay.
So I knew how it affected them, but I knew they had full sickle cell.
And were they affected? Would you say that their symptoms were serious or not so much?
It was serious, but then my cousin, who I'm really close with, she wasn't affected like how my husband was affected or my son, because they were in hospital in and out.
Okay.
So I don't think I really seen like the pains or the crisis that they lived with, although we was really close.
So what you've seen of sickle cell, knowing that you had the trait, it didn't really seem like it was that bad at the time before going into it.
Yeah.
I'm with you. Do you think that that kind of made you feel like it wasn't that important to kind of if you knowing that you had the trait, finding out if your partner had the trait or had sickle cell, because what you've seen of it didn't seem that bad?
Yeah, I think just obviously going into the relationship, that's when I really seen what sickle cell was and how it affects a certain person. And
your husband, I'm sure you didn't start off being husband, obviously. When you met your partner, how did he let you know he had sickle cell? Did you know beforehand, before you got into relationship? How did that all kind of come about?
I think going back, how would I have known? Yeah, I would have known he had sickle cell, and obviously I didn't really see the impacts at the start.
Okay.
But then obviously, how would I say it? Didn't see the impacts at the start, but then he was affected. So even in his older age, it was something like in and out of hospital. So yeah, I was pretty aware of it from the start.
How did that make you feel like at all? Because myself personally I have sickle cell, and I've been in a relationship with someone who of course doesn't have it, knows of it, but didn't really realise how serious it was until obviously being in a relationship with myself. How did you find kind of being with someone who had sickle cell, the hospital admissions? Did it scare you? Did it become like a norm? Like, how did you kind of navigate around that?
I can't really describe how it was at the start, but I know that it's something that obviously I knew, dealt with, and just dealt with it, isn't it? Yeah.
Was you understanding initially? Supportive?
Yeah, I would say, yeah, I think I was, because I was so supportive. Yeah. So it wasn't like if horrible or maybe, it was just like, yeah, from the start, it is what it is, and that's what it was.
Okay.
So, yeah.
And what were some of the complications, or if there's any serious complications that your partner had at the time?
At the time when I first met him, it was just like, obviously, when winter would come, so his crisis, like legs, pains, same kind of symptoms what my son suffers with now. It's like legs, pains, sickle cell crisis, and then he didn't really when I was first with him, we wasn't really in and out of hospital, because you know, when you're older you deal with that, don't you? You're just at home and behind your closed doors. Nobody knows what's going on apart from your household. So yeah, it wasn't the case where he was in and out of hospitals until when he got older, then he got complications and stuff. Yeah.
So managing the pain at home, then him just staying at home, was it more just kind of you just rallying around, being there to support you? Did you ever kind of think want him to go to the hospital to make him feel better, or did you understand that kind of?
I understood, and he was a big man, so he dealt
Make
with
your
it.
decision. Make your decision.
Yeah.
Fair enough. So when you guys obviously got together, got married, and you were going to have children, at any point did you kind of think about you having the sickle cell trait, him being full-blown sickle cell, what that would mean for you guys kind of having children and your future together?
I don't think it's something I really looked into at the start, because he had a child already, and his child he only had sickle cell trait.
Yeah.
And I think back then I didn't, how would I say it? Back then we knew the complications, but it wasn't something I was really aware of or looked into. So it wasn't really, not even aware of, how would I say it?
Suppose you probably just, you didn't see the importance.
Yeah, at the time.
I think it's fair to say as well, like, there wasn't a lot of awareness around that time.
Yeah.
Like, I know, like, for me, even when I was growing up, around that age, I felt kind of isolated because it was just like no one else was speaking about it. So for someone who doesn't have it, you probably wouldn't be aware of how serious it could be or what the implications could be, because there's not that much kind of around awareness and stuff. So for you said that your husband already had children as well. So did he have any concern for you guys having children or anything like that either?
Yeah, maybe there was concerns around it, but it was one of them ones I got pregnant, and it is what it is. So.
Were you offered at that time the prenatal screening for your child?
Yes, is that before
they're born? So there's a test that they can do when you're I'm not sure how many weeks pregnant it is, but they can test to see if your child is going to have sickle cell.
I think I did do that.
Did you have you had that test?
Yeah.
Did you know ahead of?
No, I didn't, because I didn't know until he was born. So I don't think I had the test.
Did they?
While I was pregnant?
Do you remember?
I think it would have been.
It would have been, but you obviously would have.
I don't think. Yeah, I did.
Do you? So that's something that they kind of encourage now. If they know that you have a sickle cell trait, and did they know that your husband had the full-blown sickle cell at the time when he was pregnant? So now that's something that they more encourage people to have. And I've spoken to a number of mums who have had that done and haven't had it done. And the impacts of kind of like what the healthcare system actually say to someone, or what the options are after knowing. Yeah. So you being offered that, if you what was your reason for kind of not wanting to find out if he was going to have it ahead of time?
Going back, casting my mind, I couldn't really say right now.
Would it have made a difference though?
No, and I knew that it would have been a case where my son's going to have it. Okay. So I was definitely aware.
The probability was more likely than not.
Yeah.
Were you aware of that?
Yeah.
Okay. So the awareness was there. It's just that you just thought, you know what, we're going to. I'm
pregnant now, so yeah.
That's it. So when did you find out that your son had sickle cell then?
I think from the start. From when he was born? Yeah, because they have an injection when they're born, isn't it? Yeah. To find out.
Then how was his kind of childhood? What was that like, finding out, okay, my son's he's gonna be like his dad, and you've already lived through that. How did that kind of make you feel?
So when he was younger, we always knew about the crisis. I think he didn't have a crisis it was like probably 6 months before he was 1. Okay. So it was obviously now he can tell us where it is, and it's more like, so he knows about it. But back then there was just nothing you can do, is there, when he's having it?
How do you tell? Because obviously I don't remember what I was like as a child. As a mum, what were the signs that you knew, okay, maybe he's having a crisis? Or because obviously you knew about sickle cell because your husband had it, so how was you kind of made aware, or how did you identify something?
When he was younger and couldn't speak, just the constant screaming, the constant pain, different to a normal. Crying. Yeah, constant pain. Yeah, constant crying.
Do you think that the fact that his dad had sickle cell made it almost easier for you to kind of identify and understand? Yeah. And what was it like kind of going into the hospitals? bringing baby to the hospital and stuff like that?
So he was always having regular checkups, always under the children's hospital. But going into hospital with him, I remember when he had a transfusion when he was very young as well. So like, yeah, it was from day one into the hospitals, but obviously we was aware of it because my husband been around at them times, so it's just stuff it dealt with.
Why did he need you said he had a transfusion. Was that because of a complication that happened or just...
When he had a crisis. No, he didn't have... Yeah, he had a transfusion that was probably when he was really younger. Probably about 3. Okay. When he was 3, they said when he went to hospital with a crisis, they said he needed a blood transfusion.
And did he have like long hospital stays, or were they mostly kind of just...
I wouldn't say over a week, but like within a week, hospital stays.
Okay. Were there ever times where your son was sick and your husband at the same time?
Going back then. So we're going back now. It's casting my mind really back. So, no, not that I can remember. Not that I can cast my mind back and remember.
Okay. So, speaking more about kind of like your husband, obviously I know that he's passed away. How was that kind of journey? Was it sudden, like what was his journey like with sickle cell, and how did you find that experience?
So his journey with sickle cell was, as I said, it was, so when the complications happened, it was in and out of hospital, then he had like heart problems. And then like...
Was it just that, or was it kind of a build-up of other things? Like, was it just the heart complication?
It was, what did that come from? So when he had the heart complications, he was in intensive care. Then obviously that built up to like kidney failure.
Right, okay.
And that's what the complication was. He died from kidney failure.
Okay. Was it over a long period of time?
Yeah, so he was on dialysis for quite a while.
Okay. And were the complications as a result of sickle cell kind of? So do you know what exactly it was that kind of led to those complications? Was it like medication, or just kind of the long-term effects of...
I think the long-term effects of the dialysis and stuff.
Okay. And in terms of like his crisis leading up to you know that time, was it were there any kind of pivotal moments that you felt like, oh my gosh, like, you know, things are getting serious or anything like that? Or was it kind of like, how did you feel kind of, you know?
Yeah, there was loads of, all the time was moments like things are serious. It was never an easy journey. It was never just like sitting back. But yeah, it was always in hospital, in and out of hospital. So it was a lot of crisis, in and out of hospital, complications. So yeah, it was never an easy journey for him, to be honest.
How old was your son when your husband passed away?
Marnie would have been 46, 7.
He was 7.
Yes, he was young at the time.
And that happening and knowing that it was kind of, you know, as a result of sickle cell kind of complications and stuff like that, did that make you kind of feel, I don't know, any, not different towards your son, but did it kind of make you worry any more than you had in the past, knowing the seriousness of that sickle cell could how serious it could be?
Yeah, because even like now, just like the worry, knowing that he has got it, knowing that the symptoms are kind of, so it's always a worry, isn't it? Yeah. And
how does he kind of, growing up and knowing that, how does he kind of navigate his sickle cell now, his son?
I think he's definitely more like his dad as well. Like, he's very humbled, quiet, so he keeps a lot. But when his pain's there, he can not hold it, but he's aware of he's aware of it. Like, obviously with his cousins and his friends and stuff, he knows that can't do certain things, but he's very aware of it and very, how to put it, he deals with it, and we deal with it.
So talk to me about your son. What's your son's name?
Aman.
Can we call him Aman?
Marnie,
okay.
Yeah.
Talk to me about Marnie. So him growing up with sickle cell, obviously I know what it was like for me, but understanding what it's like from a parent's perspective or a mother's perspective must be completely different. So like, what was he like kind of going through primary school and then secondary school? Like, what's his experience been so far, like, with sickle cell?
Mine is, okay, so with schooling is, I wouldn't say in and out of school, but he does have a lot of time off with his sickle cell when he's in crisis or he has to be in the hospital. He's a very, I would say, bottle it up. Okay. So he doesn't want to, like, not saying he's going to worry me because he knows, like, you know, it's like now, it's like if he's having a crisis or a pain, I'm always like, you know, I'm always watching him like, how are you, okay? Yeah. So I'm like, are you okay, man? I can see when he's changed. Are you okay? Yeah, I'm okay. Are you sure? So I've actually, like, tell me from the start, because obviously if he tells you from the start, medication straight away. Yeah. No, I'm okay. So the next thing I see, I go around his room and he's there tensing, holding it in, because I don't know whether he feels like he's gonna worry me or he just wants to keep it in. But yeah, it's
How have you learnt to communicate with each other, like, over the years? Like, when does he come to you when it's getting too bad? Is it always kind of you being able to identify that actually, no, I can see it's getting bad, so I want to step in? How?
I think it's most of the time I would say it's me seeing when it's coming, but or no, he would actually come and say like, oh, his legs hurting, and that's when I know it's severe. So if he's coming, it's severe, yeah. It's bad. Or I just think if he feels like a little pain's coming on, he'll try and fight it, hold it, but then as I said, I always have to say, man, you have to tell me from early to treat that from early. Yeah. But yeah, he does try and bottle it in. Yeah.
Do you think that you knowing that you need to kind of get on top of the pain early? Do you think that's your experience of you know, going through it with your husband, or is that something that you've learned with your son, that it helps?
I've learnt that with him, that it helps getting on top of the pain early. Because as I said, don't we always want to go into the hospital? We try and manage it a lot at home, and then I know when it's severe, that's when, like, back pain, there's no holding that as ambulance, going straight to the hospital. But then if it's like his leg and stuff, I try to stay on top of the pain, fluids, stay on top of the painkiller, fluids from early, to try and, like, because he doesn't really love the hospitals, to be fair.
Don't think any of us. It's not a nice place to be at all.
He doesn't love the hospitals.
You mentioned, like, fluids, so were you aware of kind of, like, does he have specific triggers where you might know as a mum? Because I know I can say that for my mum, she knew what my triggers were before I probably even knew. Are you aware, like, do you have to remind him? I don't want to say remind him, but do you have to kind of say, remember to do this and do that about his sickle cell? Or do you think he's quite sensible with it, like he knows what his triggers are? And
wrapping up the winters. Yeah. He is very sensible and knows what his triggers are, but again, it can just be at any time. So yeah, I am that very on him, like, make sure you're wrapped up, make sure your coat's done all the way up, you're going into school, and you're telling the teachers. So yeah, I am very on him, but he is very sensible and he's very aware of what can trigger a sickle cell crisis. With the fluid intake, no, it's not. I try to, like, yeah, it's hard, like, stay on top of your fluids, and then when he gets into a crisis, it's me trying to keep him on top of his fluids. But yeah, I think that's one of the ones that he doesn't push as much, and like, unless I stay on top of him with that.
With the drinking.
Yeah.
Has his school been like? So I know you said he has some time off and stuff.
Yeah.
Is his school been understanding? Has it impacted him in any way in terms
with primary school, because he went to a mixed school, so they were aware of it. Not aware of it, they were aware of it once the sickle cell, once they brought awareness to it, so they was very on it. So like most of the teachers going into secondary school, they weren't aware of it. Even up to now in his last years, they know nothing about it until we had to bring the sickle cell nurse in. She would tell them, so they're very you know, they've got a care plan. They've only put his care plan in just before the COVID. So they was just not aware of. Although
how old isn't he in his
last year
in
now,
his school?
yeah.
How was that transition from primary school being very much on it and aware, and I suppose it's easier primary school because sometimes you only have like one teacher or something, then going into secondary school, how did he deal with that, and how did you deal with that, knowing that you kind of just, because it's that age where you kind of have to learn to let go a little bit? How was that?
It was hard, and that's why I had to fight to bring the awareness to the school. I don't know, because it's more of a, what school?
Oh, okay, so it's not
it's not a mixed school at all.
Okay.
So that's why they were just like, they had no awareness of sickle cell.
Did you try and push the awareness of it from when he first started, or did you find that it was something that you had to do gradually because they were misunderstanding?
I would say gradually. I don't think I really pushed it. It was gradually, and we didn't stay had much contact with the nurse from the children's hospital. It was only when we got contact back with her, and then she was able to come in and let them know and stuff.
Do you think that the hospital or the nurses or the NHS in general kind of should do more in terms of making
the school
stuff aware?
Yeah, definitely.
What would have helped you, like, in that time? What would have made a difference?
Them just like in the winters, PE and stuff like that. Being outside when they can windows open, when they can have their coats off, letting them know that no, he's not going to be in the playground with his jacket off. His toilet pass, when you have a toilet pass and stuff. So Ma's not going to tell them that, so we'll just sit there. So now he's got a toilet pass and stuff if he needed to go out. Letting him know that there's somewhere where he can go to and a teacher where he can go to. They're going to contact me. So I know he's been in class before, and he's in secondary school. This is where he's dealt with it right to the end, and he just holds that pain, holds that but then now, because they are aware, there's somewhere where he can go to, somewhere who we can speak to. So there is more, it's more easier for him now, should I say.
What made you change, or what made you push to kind of bring a nurse or something to the school? Was there something significant that happened, or?
Just his time off, and making him having the work at home if he's got the time off. Yeah, his time off is in and out of schooling.
Okay.
Really his time off.
Do you think it's impacted his kind of education at all, like the amount of time off he's had, or the school not being aware and therefore not giving him the work that he needs to kind of stay up to date?
It could have impacted, but to be honest, he's a very bright boy, so he is on top of he's top of the classes and stuff. Again, I had to put him in extra education because Saturday schools, because he was losing a lot, and although he wasn't falling behind, I still felt like he needed to stay on top of it.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
That's good. What do you feel like you could... What do you think is missing in terms of, like, you having a son that has sickle cell, he's gone through primary school, gone through secondary school. Is there any elements of his care that you feel like is missing? Because from my own experience, I feel like there wasn't a lot that I shared, even though when I was going through certain things, because of I didn't want to, make things seem like it was a burden on my parents. Do you think that there's anything that could help, or anything more that could be done?
In terms of,
do you think that he receives enough care from the NHS, enough support from the nurses?
I think it's there and it's offered, but it's how much he wants to take in. I know, of recent, even with losing his dad and stuff like that. And then I've referred him to the children's hospitals, referred him to counselling. But I think the support is there if a man wanted to take that on at a time, and now he's not willing to take it on. He's not willing to speak to anybody, and we've tried it, and I've said to the counsellor after, what did he share? I said, I've made him aware of, because again, he's had a lot of losses in his young little age.
Okay.
So he doesn't share or open. So I've said, has he spoken about that? And he's like, no, he's just like, yeah, I'm okay. so he doesn't share nothing with nobody. He doesn't want to talk, you know.
What about for you? Because I always feel like it's not just the child. Like it's not just in my case. It's not just me. I'm aware of everybody around me as well.
Yeah.
Do you think there's things there for you as like a carer?
No, but then again, it's if I wanted. I think it would be there if I wanted to access them type of services. But then for my children, for my son and my older son, I think I bottle up and just deal with it as well. Okay. So I'm that person, like, I'm not going to break. Not that I'm not going to break, but I don't. I just continue and, like, dealing with him being sick of sound and just life in general. I just feel like I just keep going. So, but if I wanted to, and I will, there is services that we can access, isn't there?
Do you feel like they're easy to access?
I haven't tried.
Haven't tried. That's good. Do you think that if it was more accessible, or if they done more, because sometimes I feel like it's a two-way thing.
Yeah.
It's easy, like we've said, you've made it accessible for your son, and then it's up to him if he wants it or doesn't want it.
Yeah.
Do you feel like if it was more open and you knew what kind of services were available, you might be more like, oh, actually?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
So for your part then, it would be better if
knowing what was out there. Knowing what was out there, yeah.
And do you think that that's changed? Like, obviously, you knowing about sickle cell from you were younger, meeting your husband, having children, can you see that there's been any change or improvement, or do you feel like it's pretty much just if you know, you know?
Yeah, it's if you know, you know, isn't it? Like, I can't say there's been an improvement. Probably, no, it is if you know, you know. But no, I wouldn't. All right, and if you would say to me, who can I go and access support or from, I would say, I don't know. I wouldn't know where to go and say, okay then. I know you can say there's this there or there's that there. I wouldn't know where to go to access support if I wanted it then. Yeah. If that makes sense.
Completely. How would you want that to look? Because obviously one of the things that I want to kind of highlight if it comes up, which it has, is what other people can do to make it easier for, you know, people that are living with, impacted by sickle cell. If someone was going to say, you know, this is available, how would you, like, what would work for you? Would you want to go to an event? Like, where do you think that presence needs to be, that awareness needs to be raised more?
Well, it's the hospitals really that we see most, isn't it? So if it was in the hospitals, if you know, like we go there every other month. So if that was like there's leaflets or there's information given by the sickle cell hospitals, then maybe it's there and I know where to go, but that information's not even there when we're in the hospitals our whole life.
No.
So I don't know where it would be.
That's crazy. Sometimes it's sad. I sometimes I know the truth, but I speak to people and I want them to say, do you know what, I've noticed a difference in the service, or I've noticed an improvement, but the reality is it's just not there.
It's not.
Do you feel like the lack of kind of input or even care from people thinking, do you know what, maybe we should let them know what's out there, do you think that that's anything to do with the fact that sickle cell impacts majority black people?
Explain, say again.
So because sickle cell mostly affects black people, and of course we're seen by the NHS, and you know, a lot of people would say that, you know, we are, like, sickle cell is largely underfunded, there's not that much awareness around it, there's not that much knowledge around it. Do you think that that is just the care system on its own, would you say, or do you think that some of it might be to do with the fact that it's just another issue that kind of we're experiencing and we're going through?
And we just deal with ourselves.
We just do it.
And that's it. We just deal with it ourselves.
How do you think that other people, like, from our community could support you or could have supported you better?
From our community could have supported me better? I couldn't say, to be honest. No.
Do you feel that you're supported?
Sorry, that's a bit now.
When it comes to kind of your support system, do you have, like, is it mostly family, friend support? Like, what's that made up of?
Yeah, family and close friends. So I've got a good support system, and probably that's because that's my access to support using them.
And did they understand about sickle cell, do you think?
Yeah.
They do. Has that understanding come from you yourself or others in the community?
From myself, I wouldn't say community, but from myself, my son, and just knowing about it in the family. We've got people who's got sickle cell, so yeah, just about, from myself and family members.
Okay. If there was anything that you could change in terms of anything at all, not change from your kind of experiences, but if there's anything that you could change or that you wanted people to know about what it's like being a mother and also, you know, being the wife of someone who has sickle cell, like just being impacted by it but not having it, what would you say to someone that was like asking like what it's like, if you could say like one thing?
What's like, maybe just smaller community groups and stuff. Like, I know I'm not old, so you know, it's just like, I know there's people of my age who's probably got children who's got sickle cell, but it's about knowing different groups and accessing different groups and just bringing that awareness to the community. I know it's probably out there already. It's probably just something that I haven't accessed.
At your son's age now, he's in his last year of secondary school, so he's coming up to the age of where he's going to have to move from the children's hospital to the adult hospital.
Yeah.
Have you thought about that at all? Do you have any worries around it?
It's scary.
Okay.
It's scary. Thinking, not to let him aware that I'm scared, but when they say, you know, you're going to be an adult and you're going to have to be coming on your own, I can't imagine ever leaving my son to deal with going to, I'll still be that mum taking him. I don't know. I just feel like he's going to be, not an adult, but it just feels like it's scary to think. Well, I wouldn't be leaving him, but when they try to say, you know, you're going to be an adult, you're going to have to independent. No, I just want to wrap him in the bubble at all times.
Do you think that he feels the same, or do you think that's like a mummy thing?
No, it's definitely a mummy thing. I think he will be. Yeah, I think he would try and be okay with it. No.
Do you think that there's enough? I'm not sure if they've started to have the conversations with you already. Do you feel like there's enough preparation involved in that kind of move?
No, because even recently he's asked me, "Oh, Mum, am I going to be moving over to City Hospital soon?" And no one ain't contacted us. Like, is it just one contact, one visit, and that's it? I don't know.
Have you been there yet?
No.
Haven't.
No, I haven't been over there. He's 16 in August.
Okay.
So we've just had, yeah.
Do you feel like you've done enough and that, you know, whoever looks after him, these nurses and the doctors at the children's hospital have given him enough kind of knowledge and understanding of his condition that he will be able to kind of hold his own when it comes to kind of going into the big wide world and the adult hospital and all that?
Yeah, I think they are amazing at the children's hospital. They do give him all that information. Go now, I think, because the nurse that we used to have, is it Susie? Is she no longer?
Yeah.
She's no longer there, is it? And I think that's where the awareness was. That's where, you know, even when she used to come out to your homes, out to the house and to his school, we don't see that anymore. And I think if that something like that was still in place, because she's not around anymore, is she? Yeah. Something like that, like Susie, if someone like Susie was still in place, it will be. But I think you are just like left on your own. That's gone, and that's, I don't know. Speaking to like my aunties of my cousins who's had sickle cell, they were very. And Dr. Valangi is not Dr. Valangi, the older one who retired. Dr. Derbyshire.
Yeah.
So I had them coming up at the start, so it was always, what to say, more awareness. Now it's just like you go into hospital. Did I say the system is good? Sorry, no.
We didn't say it was good or bad, you said can't think.
Okay.
But I can ask you that question now.
Yeah, okay then. So I'm just going back now to just thinking.
Yeah.
Being in hospital the last times he's been in there, no, it hasn't been the best, because we just have nurses who just you go into hospital and just treat you for painkillers. And I'm like, why are we on this ward?
Right.
Why are we not being transferred over to the ward that are aware of it? So like, I just don't think there's enough compared to what it was before. And even when my husband was around, there was that awareness in the NHS, in the hospitals. So I felt more supported with the old ones. Now, no. So what's that going to look like for him when he's older? He's just going to hospital. It's not like an awareness of sickle cell, is it?
Yeah.
So that's kind of scary when I do think about it.
So in actual fact, it seems like there's less support, less awareness.
Yeah, compared to when he was younger.
Right. So going forward then, would you say like more support kind of in the community and by nurses that can come and reach out to you would be more?
Yeah, definitely that.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely.
Do you have any questions for me?
Questions for yourself? Yeah, so it's not really for you, but how did you feel like you've spoke about like your mum dealing with it and stuff, and how does it affect her now? Or
I think you mummies are just like brilliant. Obviously, I don't have children yet. I'm not a mummy, so I still say like you mummies. Like I'm so far away from myself. I don't know how you do it, but you just
do
have, it. You just do. You just have this like superpower of like dealing with everything. And even when you mentioned like, you know, your son kind of trying to like hold it down, like no, I'm good. But you knowing that actually, I can see that something's wrong and we need to get on top of it. I think just do as you're doing. Like my mum just goes with it, and like you said, the support, even though it has been better, and you know it's kind of whether it's improved or not so as good as it was. One thing that's consistent for us kind of living with sickle cell is having you guys there, like no matter what.
Yeah.
I do think it's a bit unfair that for you guys there's not as much support. That I think as I'm getting older, I know that there are like so many services that you know carers and parents should be able to access, but I personally feel like with sickle cell it's kind of just overlooked almost. But yeah, my mum just goes through it.
So what awareness, I mean, what services would you be able to, like, what information could you give me to say, okay, that's there to support, like, different...
Do you know what? There's not enough, but I know that there are some, especially kind of like where we are in Birmingham. It's just about, I think, I would say, like you said, the hospitals, letting people know what is there and understanding that they're not just there for the medical side of things. Sickle cell is actually a holistic condition, so it's not just about you know your mental well-being and you know what's going on in your blood and taking tablets and stuff. It's also about your family, your friends, the people around you, and perhaps just trying to make them do more to let you guys know what's there. You mentioned Oscar Birmingham. Oscar Birmingham work with a number of other different organisations as well that are, you know, do things like you can go and have like a spa day or a massage or, you know, things like that are available. That sometimes it's the tiniest thing I think that makes a difference. So yeah, hopefully the right people will see this and make some changes. Thank you so much
You're
for
welcome.
opening up and sharing with me today. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jen.